Emmanuel, are you ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Independence City Council meeting. It's Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 at 6:30 in the evening. Let the record show that council is all here. And council members, you have the minutes of the last two meetings in your packet, and do they meet with your approval?
I move to approve both sets of minutes as received.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. I don't think we have any visitor comment this evening, so I'm going to move directly into my report. In your packet on page 11, you have some committee commission appointments, and do they sound okay?
I would move to approve the commission appointments as submitted.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Under my report, my continuing roadshow report. We've had recently had representatives from Senator Merkley's staff here in town, and staff and I were showing them infrastructure. Also joining us were the folks from Business Oregon. They're the people with the dollars and cents through the state, and so we've been showing them lots and lots of infrastructure. A few days later, we also had folks, the director of U.S. Department of Agriculture, Rural Investments, talking to them about business and infrastructure. As I reported last week, I had the opportunity, something fun, to help out at the Women's Club auction, and that was a really nice little fundraiser. And also, it was a busy evening, though. I got a chance to go over to the FFA auction afterwards, and there were lots of things, and we spent some money. Also working with the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, we're putting together testimony for the Oregon Transportation Commission on funding for transportation in the region, trying to make sure that Transportation Commission invests in these three counties and don't put all their funds into the metro area, and getting some projects out of the way to help make 51 and 22 available for a little later on. Finally, ODOT is visiting in about a week. They're coming. We have some of their leadership, and I think some folks out of the governor's office are coming to town, and they're going to be looking at Highway 51 through Independence and on into Monmouth. We're talking potholes and pavement.
Yay.
And so I'm excited about that, and relationships matter. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our illustrious interim city manager, Bob. I can get it done, Mason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So I have a little bit of a report tonight. We have been busy, but I will start with our city manager recruitment report. And that information, hot off the press here, is that there are now 24 total applicants for the position. Of those, 5 don't meet minimums, but 6 meet minimums. 4 are qualified, which means they meet minimums and have some ideal experience. 6 are well qualified, and 3 she identifies as ideal. So what all that means, I don't yet know. I actually know no more than you. But there is a plan for the next meeting on the 22nd for Wendy to address you all and go through that short list with you and determine who moves on to day 1 of the panel interviews. Also, I left at your seats the flyer that was produced to help promote the position. So that's your keepsake. You get to keep those. Or I guess you could still share it with someone if they were to apply tomorrow. It closes tomorrow. So if you have someone that you really want to reach out to, you could use it for that. Any questions on city manager recruitment? All right. I guess I should ask. So Wendy was planning to be virtual next meeting. Is that going to be acceptable with everyone if she's virtual for next meeting? Okay, great. Thank you. Yes.
I was going to say chief, but sorry, Mr. City Manager. Do we know how these were distributed?
I do not. I got a packet of the ones that you have and 2 others. That's all I know. They were mailed to me, but I do not know how she got them distributed.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's a question for the 22nd.
Okay, continuing. I sent an email out to you all about the intergovernmental agreement between Monmouth and Independence that formed a MINET. We are hoping to update that agreement in the coming, let's say, months. And I would still like to get your suggestions back by March 14th if you have some. Councilor Core, thank you very much. You did a great job responding already. She gets, I guess, bonus points because it was not only prompt, but it was thorough. So, the plan going forward, once we get all of the responses, the Monmouth City Manager also reached out to her council. We're planning to take all of those responses, compile them, and create a new draft agreement that we'll go talk to the Minnet board about, because we both sit on the Minnet board, and then create a draft agreement that comes back to councils for approval. That's our long-term goal on that. Okay, you should have gotten an email regarding a class being put on by the League of Oregon Cities that is called Budgeting, Public Budgeting 101. And I just wanted to stress that that is going to be recorded. So if you couldn't make one of the 2 times that they had listed in the email, you actually can watch it whenever it's convenient to you, because they're going to record it. So if you have an interest in that class, let Karen know. We sent that out to all of you, as well as department heads and budget committee members. And if enough people want to take it, it gives us a package group rate that you don't go above for the price. So it's open to everyone that has an interest in it. The Historic Preservation Commission has encouraged the city to explore some possible remedies for properties that are in town with severe disrepair. I just wanted to bring it up today and let you know that our planning department has started to investigate what those possible remedies might look like, and we plan to come back to you with some actionable items in the future. Questions on that? Okay, good. Youth grants. So the plan with the youth grants that we talked about at the last work session, moving forward, is that Patrick is working on a finalized program, and Monmouth has agreed to participate. So we're going to try to get a finished grant program to you at the next meeting for presentation, and then we're going to get those open. We're hoping on April 1st that we'll open to start accepting those grant requests. So that's the update there.
I have a question.
Yes.
We're not limiting it to 25,000 from each city though, correct?
No. Monmouth has agreed to do 25, and we had agreed to do, well, I'm proposing that we do 50 in this first round and kind of see where we go. Again, we're hoping that our American Rescue Plan Act money is also available in next year's needs. So, does that sound good to everyone? Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. On March 1st, the Navigators with Family Community Outreach with Polk County did start at the Ash Creek Annex on 16th Street. And today, Emmanuel and I visited the site and got some pictures and some information. So you should see that coming out in our social media very soon. Hours and days are Tuesday through Thursday, 8 to 5, closed during lunch. But there is staff there 3 days a week, and today there were 2 staff and 1 was bilingual. On our way back from our little field trip, we ran in, as the mayor mentioned, ODOT was going to be in town. Well, ODOT was actually in town, so we ran into an ODOT vehicle fixing potholes on Monmouth Street. So we actually took the opportunity to grab some pictures, and you may see those in the near future as well. Trolley project update. So there has been a trolley project for some time, and it continues. You haven't heard about it for a while, I don't think. At least I haven't said anything. So I have learned that there is an outside chance that this will actually become active in 2022. I would say late 2022, but it is moving forward. It continues to move forward. Fred Evander is very active on the committee. Monmouth is in charge of that grant and the program at this point. So it is looking up, though. Yes? All right. The YMCA and our pool. Just wanted to give you all an update that we are working on a new agreement for operation of the pool. The one that we had was quite a bit out of date, but we aren't looking to make any huge changes, and we just want to be prepared for this summer swim season. So I don't think you're going to have to take action because of the manner that agreement works, but I wanted you to know that we are moving forward and getting ready for swim season. Vertical housing zone. I don't know if you have had much information about this vertical housing zone idea or not yet, but I wanted to be sure that you were aware we are looking into the formation of a vertical housing zone. Is that something that you're all familiar with?
Oh, could you define it?
Pardon?
Could you define it?
Well, that's why I asked the question. Fred, you want to come on up? I knew Fred was going to be here tonight, so I thought it was a great night to make sure that you had some information about it, because Fred was actually available to answer questions. So as Fred's making his way up, I will tell you that in order to create a vertical housing zone, you have to give notice to all of the taxing districts that are impacted by the zone, and that has to happen for 30 days. They have 30 days to respond to you after that notice goes out, and that is the first step before we can really get moving towards one, and we are planning to try and get that step going here soon. But with that said, I'm going to let you tell them all about a vertical housing zone.
Yeah, so basically it's a tax incentive zone to basically add residences above commercial space. It's primarily for mixed-use zones like our downtown, and so we have looked at it's been talked about since I've been here, potentially doing something like this, but especially now with some projects going on like Station 203, and even some other buildings that might benefit from this mixed-use residence above commercial activity. It really does seem like this is a good time to look at this at this point. It would only apply to those types of projects, and we are proposing as part of it, and I mean, it will ultimately be you that makes a decision on it. We are proposing as part of the initial step that this be larger sort of mixed-use projects that incorporate at least 8 dwelling units, just so we're not having to go and double-check each single unit in a building. So that's really what we're thinking about with this. This vertical housing zone. Again, I should explain how the tax break works. It's like if you have 1 floor, you get a 20% tax break for your project. If you have 2 floors, you get a 40% tax break. If you have 3 floors, you get a 60% tax break. Recognizing that the ground floor is not included in that break at all. It's the ground floor still has to pay the taxes, but everything above the ground floor is eligible for a slight reduction in taxes.
How long would the reduction last?
I believe it's 10 years.
And why would we do that?
Why would we do that?
Why would they need the incentive if housing is such a short commodity in our town? Why would we give them that?
It's a good question. Sometimes projects won't pencil out to do a mixed-use project based on just the finances alone. Sometimes buildings like the, boy, my Italian's bad, the Mangiare building down there, they will just sit, and so potentially something like this could be an incentive to encourage somebody to go into that building, because it would apply to even structures like that, where there are upper stories that could potentially be residential uses.
But they're not allowed to do it as residential uses now, right?
There is already an ordinance in place for second-story residential downtown.
But
Right.
this would change that.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, so it's just giving them the incentive. Because sometimes we, as the City of Independence, give incentives to things that don't need incentives. Because that seems like a huge reduction in taxes, 20, 40, 60% going up. I'm just not sure that is an economic, good thing for the citizens of Independence.
So I think what we're going to hear is a full presentation. This was just, there's exploration going on.
Totally.
And if I recall correctly from previous discussions, that this is not a loss of any income because it's only foregoing some in the future. But I'll be looking forward to hearing the full staff presentation a little further on.
Yes, and this,
I just had a quick question. So is it based on the increased value once the project, so it's, say, 40% off of the increase in value of the building and
That's
the property
exactly how I
taxes from
understand
the.
it. If you already have property taxes that
Okay.
you're paying until that improvement happens, so without the improvement, I guess Councilor Roden, I'll speak to you for that. Without the improvement, we won't get any additional taxes either. The discount is only on the difference between the unimproved value and the improved value.
No, I understand
So it's
that.
to-
It's still, unless we research it fully, it's still a waste of money.
This has
For
been
independence.
researched fully, and this is something that the council has been working on for a long time because of the great attraction to living downtown second story,
So
and
we'll,
also to mitigating derelict buildings.
so I'm sure we'll have an interesting information to be presented in the coming weeks or months.
Let's go with months on that,
Can I
but
just-
yes, I'm sure you'll
can I
get a
just
lot more
ask-
information.
isn't Monmouth already doing this?
I am unaware if Monmouth is doing this, but I'll add that to my list to find out. I will tell you, the part that really excited me was the idea that by incentivizing some of that downtown property that has been in disrepair for a long time, and then actually trying to incentivize somebody to come in and make a change, make a difference, I see it as a win for the city. I've been working in that downtown a long time, and a couple of those buildings have been in disrepair, and I've worked them as ordinance cases as an ordinance officer before I was a police officer, right? So haven't seen any change in all those years, and I've been here for nearly 30. So if this change created something like that to happen, I certainly don't see it as a negative.
We also have a council goal of providing affordable housing,
Right.
and I think this would add a lot to it.
Okay?
You have a
Councilor
question?
Joe?
Fred was talking about 8 dwellings, like 8 in each building, essentially like a minimum to make sure it was worth it, I guess. Is that kind of?
That was right. So there is some city work in making sure that the requirements are met in order to qualify. And by having a minimum unit number of 8, that would kind of create a situation where we're not having to do that work unless the program is big enough to kind of warrant it.
Okay.
Is that, or the project, I should say. Okay, last thing I have is that the low-income household water assistance program, which you all already authorized the city to participate in, that goes live on the 16th, so this next week. It will be live and available, and we will be pushing that message out as well. And that is all I have.
I did have one question, if we could go back to property with severe disrepair.
Yes, Councilor Moore.
Does that include both commercial and residential?
I think the HPC's request had more to do with residential, but I'm going to take a second and look over here at Fred because that's his department as well.
That's correct, yep.
Residential?
Residential was primarily what they were focused on at this point. Do you have a commercial concern that you're asking about?
I do. And
You'll be visiting with staff after?
I will definitely be visiting with staff afterwards, because I'd prefer to keep it between me and staff right now.
Great. Okay. Thanks for your report, Chief, and I think you're next up anyway.
I believe you are correct.
Access control systems.
So access control, we had a conversation during our work session about the access control system in this building and that it's reached end of life. This is a request for authorization to enter into a contract with a company that would replace the access control system for an amount of $99,252.64. Questions?
Is there any time left on the access system that we do have, or it's just completely useless?
So it's working still, but it's end of life, so we can't get any service to it. And our IT manager is concerned that if it fails, we are going to have a hard time conducting business in the building because we're so dependent on it to get around.
What about the like option of just having like doors with keys? Is that not an option? We have to have electronic key cards?
It would be, I will say that for our criminal justice information system audits, they actually want to see those access control logs. So we're showing them who accesses rooms and areas. The same with our evidence room. I'm speaking specifically of the police department here, but It's a lot easier, and I would question whether it's even cheaper in the long run to have access control where a lost card is really a very minimal cost. If you've heard the stories about schools having to rekey when a master key is lost, the advantage of someone losing a Prox card is that we just turn that access Prox card off, and the cost of that card is like $5 to us, where having a building of this size rekeyed would be very expensive.
And then the next system would last for, this system will last for at least 10 years.
10 years, yeah. They have, part of the agreement is that it's serviced for 10 years.
Tom?
So the 10-year door license, is that paid up front, or is that an amount per year?
No, that is paid up front.
Paid up front.
The whole amount is in this amount for the whole 10-year
Of course.
amount.
Okay.
Be nice to pay it by year.
Okay. This is an action item, folks.
And I will say, if anyone's considering action, if you look at your monitors, there's going to be a script that our attorney wanted me to use because we didn't have the actual contract. And so she wanted to be able to review the actual contract and wanted that language included here to make sure that it's legally done because of the amount.
I move to approve a contract with Harbor Tech Mobility for a replacement access control system in the amount of $99,252.64 and authorize the interim city manager to negotiate and execute that contract and associated documents subject to city attorney review and approval.
Motion,
Second?
second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move forward to a public hearing on LA 2022-02 wastewater facility plan. And Mr. Fisher is going to do this, and I think I get to read the script now. This evening, we'll have a public hearing on legislative amendment 2022-02 to approve the wastewater system facilities plan and make associated revisions to the city's comprehensive plan. The city council will make a final decision based on the complete record, including the testimony received at tonight's public hearing. These proceedings are recorded. This hearing will be held in accordance with the land use procedures required by the state, the city, and the state of Oregon, which is a type 4 legislative procedure. At the beginning of the public hearing tonight, staff will identify the applicable substantive criteria from the city's comprehensive plan and or the state of Oregon statewide planning goals. For anyone wishing to speak, you're asked to use the speaker card that are provided. When asked to speak, you'll be recognized. State your name and address. Before we begin, does any counselor wish to declare an actual potential conflict of interest in this matter? I don't see anybody. So I now will open the hearing for public hearing LA 2022-02 adopting the wastewater system facilities plan and making associated revisions to the city's comprehensive plan. We have a staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. First, I'd like to apologize for the last-minute change. What happened is the older file of the document got into the council packet. Once we realized that, we took the one that you've all seen at the work session and the Planning Commission seen and DEQ approved. We put that in the document, so it was just a mix-up of files. That's how it got sideways. We're going to tag team a little bit tonight between me and Fred. We have the wastewater master plan completed and we're ready to adopt. The plan has improvements for the 20-year planning period to address sewer needs related to the life cycle replacements and growth-related upgrades. The proposed comprehensive plan amendment would change current language and reference the adopted master plan for information related to the sanitary sewer system. And the staff report, which explains the criteria for adoption of the revised master plan and comprehensive plan amendment, is attached. DEQ has reviewed and approved the master plan with no comments or changes. I have not received any public comments on the master plan. Okay. So we have in the options, 3 options for you, and staff is recommending option A, and there's a suggested motion for you. So any questions before I hand off to Fred?
Does this, when you said growth-related upgrades, what date is that looking up to? This master plan covers potential growth in our city up to 2040?
Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head.
Is it 40 or 45?
It's, I think it's 40 or 45. I should say in the very top.
While he's looking that up, let's go ahead and let Fred come up, and then I know you'll get back to that
Yeah,
question.
yeah, it's 45.
45?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I don't really have much to say related to it, but because it is a public hearing and because there is a change to the comprehensive plan, it has gone through the planning commission. They did consider it. The comprehensive plan changes, you'll note, are basically striking everything related to previously related to the sewer system and just putting essentially a couple of references to this plan and then just sort of rejiggering the policies a little bit. Based on that, we sent this to the Department of Land Conservation and Development. We ran the notice period on it. We posted it on our website a long time ago. We issued a notice in the newspaper. We've done all of the stuff that we need to do related to a land use change. And based on that, I recommended approval to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission unanimously agreed with that decision. And so the recommendation of approval is before you on this plan tonight. Are there any questions about any of the land use processes that we've been through with this?
I'm still
Questions?
confused
Please
on
do.
how we pay for this. I mean, at $36 million, I understand it's over 20 years, but we're not going to do $1.8 million every year. So how, like, what does that look like? How do we pay for this?
That's a question better for Gerald.
So it's a combination of system development charges and rates. And what we'll do, what we're beginning to do here in the next couple weeks is issue a notice to proceed for the system development charge update. That will determine what our new SDCs are for any sewer connection to the system, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial. From that, we'll be able to go into a rate study to determine of the rates that we're collecting right now with the system development charges, how much do we need to raise the rates, if any, to pay for the projects over the long-term period?
Well, if you didn't raise the rates, where would the money come from?
I'm sorry?
You're saying you may or you may not have to raise the rates?
Depending on where the rates are in comparison to what the need is for long-term debt and ongoing replacement of existing systems. If you're replacing an existing system with, like taking an 8-inch pipe and replacing it with an 8-inch pipe, that's 100% rates. So if the rates can cover the cost of what the improvement recommendation is over the period, then you wouldn't have to raise the rates. I expect the rates to go up. Right now, I don't know how much they will until we do the rate study.
Okay. I guess I'm concerned just because of what's going on in the world today and food, gas prices for people. And if we're talking about raising their rates by a couple pennies a month, you know, that's one thing. But if you're doing $20, $30, I mean, people are living paycheck to paycheck already. I don't know about making a decision tonight on this. I guess I'm very concerned about pinching people even harder than they already are.
So what we're doing tonight doesn't affect anybody's rates now.
For how long?
Well, we have to do the SDC update, and then once we do the SDC update, we do the rate update. And then the council can adopt the rate. They can adopt a lesser rate than what the recommendation says, or they can even adopt a higher rate. Whatever money is brought in from those rates, we end up doing the improvements based on what money we have available to us.
So we're not doing any loans or anything like that?
What we will for the very large projects, your $1 million projects and larger projects, because it's in order to keep those rates down over the long-term period, you want to use debt for that versus trying to pay cash up front.
Okay, and then how do we, I mean, obviously we need more money to pay our debt as our debt keeps increasing, so where does that money come from to
That
pay
is,
the debt?
that's in the rates. So
In the rates.
your base rate on your, so your sewer is based on your water meter size. The base rate and the use rate are two different components, and your debt is wrapped up inside the base rate. So that's that dollar amount that stays the same pretty much throughout the period. And then your use goes up and down with your water use. That makes sense.
Would it would it be fair to say that what we're looking at tonight is what the plan is, regardless of what the timetable is? It's that for the growth that's going to happen, what the current system is, plus where we see things be in the next 25 years-ish, this is the stuff that needs to happen. And so this is what we're declaring, is this is the list of stuff that needs to be done. And then we talk about timing and finances. That's a different discussion, but this is to agree on what the work needs to be done. Is that correct?
Yes, it's an acknowledgement of this is the work that needs to happen in order to accommodate the growth over the 20 years.
And then how we get it done is a different discussion at a different time.
Exactly.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I'd also point out that
Please do.
in the past, that we've had rate schedules, this is what we need to do with our rates. And the council has chosen, well, this year, we're not going to do that. We're going to hold them steady this year and maybe change it later. So we can look at what's happening at that time.
Right, so there's flexibility.
So,
Right. I understand that, but at some
Okay.
point, we have to pay it back, and I guess that's my concern, because we're not talking about $1 million project, we're talking about a $36 million project. So that is my concern.
Well, remembering
And
that
I feel
36
alone, but that's okay.
36 is all three levels. The priority ones were, I think, 15 and a half or
Right,
something.
so we need 15 million, and,
Over 20.
only over 20 years, you need 15 million?
The high
That's not
priority
immediate.
projects are the projects that we will focus on at the beginning. And then by the time you get the high priority projects done, and you might start drifting into the second tier projects, you actually redo your master plan, because you have about 7 years of construction, and you need to go back and look and see, are those assumptions that we made about growth and everything else accurate 7 years later? Because a plan may say, you're going to have 5% growth for 20 years. 7 years later, you find out, well, you only had 2.5% growth. So some of those projects that they say you have to do them right away, they're not as high up a priority, and you can push those out. That's why you redo the master plan and keep looking at it over time to make sure those assumptions are current with what's going on.
So, Councilor Roden, excuse me.
Do you know what our CDC, or system development charges are compared to other cities in our area?
They're on the lower end.
They are.
Yeah. Yeah, where I was at before, the SDCs, I believe, went up for sewer because they had a much, much larger master plan, 100 million. Their SDCs were about $10,000, $11,000 per single family home,
But not here.
but not here.
Additional questions for staff at this point? Okay, I'm reading my script here. Is there any public testimony? I don't see anybody running up to the microphone, so without objection, I'm going to close the record. I'm going to close the public hearing and the record. Council, now we move forward to a decision and with a motion to follow.
We need the script on the screen again.
This is just this is a
The
simple,
second page.
Okay.
yeah, this is an easy motion.
Oh, yes, thank you. I move to approve LA 2022-02 and adopt the findings and conclusions in the attached staff report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Core. Is there discussion? I just want to say I like the fact that there's a plan. It's a plan for going forward and a plan for maintenance and a plan for all the parts so that there's an outline so that as we work forward on trying to run down infrastructure support, now we can say, which people appreciate, that here's what's needed, here's where it's going, here's a plan for it, and it's already lined out. So I appreciate that opportunity.
And I would like to say that I think we need to look again at what our current system and development charges are, because when I built my house 11 years ago, I believe I paid close to $20,000 in systems and development charges. So for you to say today that maybe it's gone down since then, but it seems like a significant, it seems like I paid a lot. So, but that.
And we have coming up a whole discussion and a whole presentation on system development charges with the consultant coming up in the next in the season here?
Yes,
Okay.
transportation and sewer both.
So we'll have an extensive presentation on that, Councilor Roden. Any other conversation? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And I'll move on to get to my next page here. Okay, we are now to the, Mr. Mason, amend the Independence Comprehensive Plan and adopt a wastewater facilities plan.
So this is an ordinance to adopt what you just passed. This is to adopt that wastewater facilities plan into an ordinance. It's all the same information. It's just making it official.
Everybody okay? Okay, this is an action item, and on page 60, there's a series of motions that we'll need to go through, please.
I'll start it out. I move to read the proposed ordinance Council Bill 2022-03 in full as the text is contained in the council packet for the first time.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second by Martin Willis. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
An ordinance amending the Independence Comprehensive Plan and adopting the wastewater facilities plan.
Second motion, please.
I move to read the proposed ordinance, Council Bill Number 2022-03, for the second time by title only.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Takis. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance amending the Independence Comprehensive Plan and adopting the wastewater facilities plan.
Final motion, please.
I move to adopt the proposed ordinance, Council Bill number 2022-03.
Second.
Have a motion, second by Core. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Bill has passed and will be assigned ordinance number 1595.
Thank you, appreciate that. Council announcements. Anybody have an announcement they need to make at this point? If not, then somebody say the word adjourn, please.
Adjourn, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening. Nice to see you. She's very good.